Hello and welcome. Now, following on from a couple of videos back where I touched lightly on Project Horizon at Alton Towers, I wanted to look at the history behind the area where it's planned, the former Coaster Corner, so I hope you enjoy. Now, from looking back at very old images of Alton Towers from the 1920s, when the world of David Walliams was still a kitchen garden, the area Coaster Corner covered included part of the end of the kitchen garden and what used to be a patch of trees in the bottom left. In the Second World War, the kitchen garden was taken over with small army buildings and concrete hard standing was put down, and after the war the buildings were removed but the hard standing remained, hence the addition of the fairground on this area in the 60s, following increasing visitors to the park in the 50s. In 1981, park expansion led to the area being cleared of trees so it could be used as 2 additional coach parks, which was included on the earlier park maps. I'm not sure on the rules regarding tree removal at that time, but as the park increased in popularity, further attractions were needed to meet demand. In 1985, foreman Bob arrived and had previously been located at Trentham Gardens, another visitor attraction that John Broome, the original mastermind behind Alton Towers' theme park revolution, had wanted to turn into another theme park. Instead, all of Trentham Gardens' other rides were brought to Towers. Foreman Bob was manufactured by Ziera and had 8 bobsleigh ride cars that sat 4 people each and a throughput of 520 riders per hour. The layout was compact and reached 14 metres in height and 590 metres in length. The ride could only operate with at least 3 people in the vehicle, as it wouldn't be able to make it round otherwise, and a manual braking system meant the speed had to be brought down to 0 from 35 miles per hour in less than 11 seconds. So you could say this coaster was a little awkward. Foreman Bob was removed in 1990 when Two Swords took over, as it was deemed unreliable and had garnered complaints from locals regarding the noise. Foreman Bob continued to operate at other parks, such as Pleasure Island, Flamingo Land, Grove Park and Loudon Castle, being renamed a few times and getting some revamps. After a hiatus of 9 years, it operated once again in 2020 in France at Family Park under the name Gold Rush, and from what I could find is still operating today. In 1988, the Alton Beast arrived under temporary planning permission, but more on that later. It was opened by Eddie the Eagle, the Olympic ski jumper, and the Alton Beast was a Jetstar 3 coaster, manufactured by Schwarzkopf and cost £3 million, with a maximum speed of 44 miles an hour. It sat 6 people per car along an 873-metre long track, which contained a spiral lift hill. It stayed in Coaster Corner for 4 years, with noise complaints being a contributing factor to its relocation, along with the track possibly being visible. The ride was refurbished and reopened in Thunder Valley, later Forbidden Valley, as the New Beast. It was removed in 1997, with its location later being used for Air, or Galactica as we know it today. The New Beast reopened in Mexico under the name Space Mountain, but within a tent this time, much like Black Hole did. It then moved to Colombia and was removed in 2017, with its whereabouts currently unknown, but it was likely either scrapped or is still sat awaiting sale. 1988 also saw the introduction of Alton Mouse, which was opened by Kylie Minogue. It was manufactured by Vekoma with a 500-metre long track and maximum height of 18 metres. There were 6 mouse-themed ride cars able to sit 4 people each, so 2 in the front and 2 in the back, and an hourly capacity of 480. Before it arrived at Towers, Alton Mouse operated as Speedy Gonzales in Germany at a park called Wiener Prater, and apologies if I'm completely butchering that. At this park, the lift hill was inside a spinning tunnel like a trommel, which led to the lift hill itself being slightly tilted. Sadly, the spinning tunnel was not brought to Towers and used that we know of, and I did read that temporary planning permission was declined for this ride, but I also read that it was leased, so the park never technically owned it, so I'm unsure, to be honest, what was what. Noise issues and possible visibility of the bright orange track contributed to this ride's removal, along with a small accident. Alton Mouse was removed in 1991, and it did go to Idlewild in Pennsylvania, USA, and from what I can see is still operating today. So the name, Coaster Corner. This was coined due to Foreman Bob, Alton Mouse and Alton Beast all operating in the same small concentrated area, along with the Mini Apple Coaster which also operated nearby. Side note, but the Mini Apple Coaster currently operates in Great Yarmouth. So to recap on closures, Foreman Bob closed in 1990, and the Alton Beast and Alton Mouse were removed in 1991. In 1991, though, there was a very brief replacement of Foreman Bob, namely Tristar. This was a thrilling flat ride manufactured by Huss and was a little like an Enterprise, but with 3 spinning sets of cars that swung outward from one central arm. It originally started life in 1977 with a Dutch showman called De Vries, who had it for one season, but the former history between then and its time at Alton Towers is unknown. After 1991, Tristar was moved to Festival Park, the area of Towers known as Dark Forest today, but only for the 1992 season. It then moved to Pleasure Island, Flamingo Land and Pleasurewood Hills until it was decommissioned in 2017. As I mentioned before, the takeover of the park by Two Swords and the direction they wanted to go in was part of what led to Coaster Corner's demise, in addition to those complaints. 6 years after Foreman Bob first arrived, Coaster Corner was no more, with part of the area becoming part of Two Swords Studio North, which I believe was then Merlin Magic Making. The rest of the area has become a backyard or service type of area, with supplies such as building materials being housed here, as well as it being used for storage of all different things over the years, including event theming such as ride vehicles like the Scarefest hearse. Old ride parts or vehicles can also be found here, and over the years entire rides have stood in bits in this location awaiting removal. Something you can spot in old but still fairly recent aerial shots is the Twirling Toadstool's operator's cabin and a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory boat. Whether they are still there now in 2025 is unknown. This is part of the park I would love to have a walk round, and I believe there were old behind-the-scenes tours around here and other back-of-house areas back in the day. Seeing what old signs, theming and ride parts are still here would be fascinating, along with seeing another side of how a theme park runs. It would also be interesting to see if any old groundwork or anything at all relating to the rides in Coaster Corner was still visible, as well as taking a closer look at the flag tower. I would pay good money to do all of these things, but don't tell Merlin I said that. So, the future of the former Coaster Corner at Alton Towers. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is the area where planning permission was granted for Project Horizon, which was originally announced in September 2022, with permission granted in June 2023. The plans are for an indoor attraction, likely to be a roller coaster. Originally estimated to open in 2025, sad times, nothing has been announced officially in terms of any development beginning, nor anything to state that the project was not going ahead. Who knows if and when this will really happen. I did read online that some minor clearing of the site occurred towards the end of 2024, and recently spray paint markings have been spotted on the floor near the entrance of the former Dungeons building, which backs onto the area in question. Hopefully Project Horizon is still happening, and if it does, it will have an entrance feature leading to a large plaza area, lots of queue line, and then a large building which will be 51 metres wide and 20 metres high. Bearing in mind other coasters here had issues, permission was granted with lots of conditions. I'm not going into any greater detail on the project, maybe in a future video, but one condition I did want to highlight was that a bat roost had been found within an old vending cart. If they got a wiggle on, and considering estimated construction could take 18 months, maybe it could open for 2027? Considering that they are building a new coaster in CBeebies Land, which is estimated to open in 2026, I'm unsure whether they would be able or willing to develop both at the same time. And it worries me that Project Horizon, if it were still going ahead, could be pushed back even further. But let's keep an eye on it. And that's it. Thank you for watching/listening, and I'll see you next time.